Hey everyone, welcome to a Nation Builder's Art of the Ask, crafting high impact communications. Now, before we jump into this high def conversation, let me introduce everyone here to Erika. Erika has spent over 10 years community organizing, and she's figured out how to grow movements without losing that personal connection that can be important. That is important. She actually started out as a Nation Builder customer herself. She's volunteering with environmental nonprofits, wrestling with the usual challenges of grassroots organizing. When she joined Nation Builder 7 years ago, she brought that real world perspective with her. And the cool thing is now she gets to do what she loves most. It's helping other organizations find simpler ways to get stuff done.
Thanks, Jesus. Now let me tell you guys a little bit about Jesus. Jesus is NationBuilder's customer support manager. He leads the effort to ensure our platform's reliability while providing support and assistance to all our customers. If you are one of our customers, you might have already interacted with him if you've ever emailed our support team. He has a really strong background in email deliverability and domain configuration and brings practical solution-focused approach to customer success. He's passionate about clear communication and helping organizations get the most out of their digital tools, especially when it comes to email deliverability. Now, before we dive too much further in, I just want to let you know that this is a one webinar of a five-part series happening each Wednesday from now until October 8th. So if you like this one, RSVP to the other ones. If you can't make it at that time, we can always send you the recording. So, right, let's talk about today's journey. So we are going to be talking about the ladder of engagement. We're going to be giving you some practical tips on email writing, email setup, and then configuration tips, and also texting as an emerging channel. At the end, we're going to have question time. So you can use the QA feature in the bottom of your Zoom screen to submit some questions, and we will try to get as many of those as we can. But ask your questions so you don't forget them while we're speaking. That's completely fine. Now, before we get into the content, Jesus, can you tell us a little bit about NationBuilder before we dig in so people know where we're coming from?
Absolutely. Thank you for throwing that to me. Erica and I are joining you today from NationBuilder. NationBuilder is an all-in-one integrated platform designed to help leaders and grow their communities. With NationBuilder, you can maintain a dynamic people database to track and engage supporters. You can host and manage websites. You can run campaigns. You can organize events. You can also recruit volunteers. Along with that, you can manage fundraising. You can use the finances feature. You can use memberships, and it's all in one place, which I think the best selling point about NationBuilder. You can get real life help from real live human support. We're alive, we're real people. So if you're using NationBuilder, you have any questions, our support team is there to assist you. We also have access to a modern API system for seamless integrations. And you can also connect with your community through built-in email and texting tools. So now that you know a little bit about who we are and what NationBuilder can offer, what NationBuilder does offer, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture, the conversation we're going to have today. In today's noisy world, what communication channels actually still work?
I myself use social media to find out about a thing, and then I only hand over my email if it's something I actually want real information about. If I've RSVP'd to something, I would expect there to be an email or text before it happens on the day. And I probably check my email about 10 times a day. I'm not someone that uses social media much. But the point here is that each of us is like a unique person. All of our supporters are also unique people with a plethora of communication channels these days. And each one of us is slightly different in how we use these channels. So which ones should we be spending our time in, right? To answer this question, let me tell you about the ladder of engagement. So the ladder of engagement, it's a strategic framework used by organizations to move people from low effort involvement to deeper levels of engagement. Your community can be divided into groups, actually. So there are five levels. The first one is observing, and this is the largest level at the bottom of this step or steps or mountains. So as the levels rise, so does the effort it takes for an individual to reach the next rung on the ladder. Observing might be people who scroll past your content on social media. They might sometimes like or, react to something, but the followers on social media don't see everything that you post, right? What they see is controlled by an algorithm, which you have no control over. And so they are just really, they're just observing. They're observing you. Following is the level a person reaches when they've opted into hearing from you on that one-to-one basis. They might do this by giving their email address, their phone number, or joining like a WhatsApp group. Bottom line here is that it takes a bigger commitment to hand over their direct contact details. Contributing might be a person that's donated, they've written to a politician, they've volunteered. To reach this level, they need to be contributing their time or something that they have to the cause. Leading is where they have been given an opportunity to maybe recruit others or take a leadership position in their own community, and they're doing that. And then owning, which is at the top, is where core organizers, staff, or, like a board would sit. And this is generally a smaller group of people than on any other ring on this ladder. And generally speaking, the core people of an organization or a movement or, are not enough to make the impact in the world. And so you need more people. So then on the right here, these circles that have appeared, um, are a bird's eye view of that ladder of engagement that we've just looked at. The white dots represent people. You can see that there's more people on the outer rungs of this ladder. There's less on each rung as they move up. That's normal. Your campaign needs will change. Sometimes you will want to focus on high number of people, regardless of their commitment. And at other times you'll want less people, but that are more willing to do something with you, that are more engaged. The key message here is that you can think of your supporters scattered across a ladder of engagement like this instead of just as one large group. And your goal is to get as many people through this red circle that's just appeared from the observing to the following step, because then you have their contact details. They're no longer stuck in that observing place, and you can do a lot more with them. Email and or text can be the gateway to higher rungs of this ladder of engagement because it allows for that one-to-one direct form of communications. I was just talking about how email and text could be the gateway, right? But also, I want to call out the elephant in the room, which is that sometimes, as I'm organizing my communities, I'm like, is anyone reading this email that I made an effort at writing? Like, yeah, I'm like getting used to the instant gratification of using social media, of seeing people's reactions. That feels more gratifying, like I'm doing more work. And email is feeling like, is anyone reading this? Just because I don't have those instant reactions. And so this is like an internal battle that I fight with. And the truth is, email is not dead, but it has changed dramatically and we need to change with it. So we're sending more emails than ever before. And you guys probably can relate to this. There's more spam emails than ever before. It's crazy. And they're getting so good, those spam emails. But here's what hasn't changed. And this is really critical for us as campaigners to understand. When your email actually makes it to a supporter's inbox and they open it, you have something that social media can't give you. Their undivided attention, even if just for some seconds. There's no competing ads. There's no pictures of old lovers. There's no new friends, pictures rolling around. There's no algorithm to interfere with that moment. And that endless scroll of distractions is just not there because they're in their email. It's just your message and your supporter. And that focused attention is incredibly valuable. So, our job isn't to abandon email, although sometimes I will be honest, it feels like I should. It is to actually become better at sending email. We need to be smarter about email deliverability. And if you guys are here, that you're already doing that. You're learning about email deliverability today. And we need to be more strategic about when and how we reach people. Because in a world of this constant digital noise, a well-crafted email that reaches the right person at the right time, this is still one of the most powerful tools in our campaigner toolkit.
And just to reiterate and hammer home the point that email isn't dead, some fun stats here. There's over 4 billion active users worldwide. 3 million emails are sent every second of the day. That's a trip. People check their inboxes daily. So Erica earlier said she does it 10 times a day. She's fibbing. It's more like 20 according to statistics. I know I do it a lot. I always check my emails. I don't know why. It's just over 20 times a day for sure. Average of 10 seconds are spent on marketing organizational emails. And 50% of people check emails before social media or news. And I will be guilty of that. The first thing I do when I wake up, after I wake up, is check my emails to see like what's going on. So emails definitely is a tool that's still being utilized, that still is alive and well and kicking. Just because it is just such a big tool.
So now let's dive straight into some practical email tips and tricks so we can email like the pros. I like to say that we no longer have the luxury of being sloppy with email. We kind of have to level up. And thank God there's a bunch of tools that can help you do this. So we're going to do another short activity. So on the next screen, I'm going to show you a campaign email, and we're going to be, right now, we're going to be focusing on writing an email, the copy that we're writing in an email. So, and this is like a campaign mass email. Yeah, not one-to-one email, mass email. You'll have 10 seconds to view the email on the next slide. Pay attention to where your attention goes and just try and read this email. Um, Notice where your eyes are drawn. So, ready? Let's go. 10 seconds are up. Cool. So, that wasn't very long, I know. It is the average time that people spend on email or something like that. So, can you drop in the Q&A or in the chat when you looked at that email, what is something that you noticed? You can, say the top of the page or the first line or something like that. The point that I want to hammer home here is that some people are scanners when they read an email. Some people are readers. Some people are both. And sometimes our brains need to get just enough information to make a decision about whether we continue reading that paragraph or not. And so the way that that email was written is called the headline method. And this is a method that I'd like to leave with you today so that you can try it out. The headline method is, if you can see, like the email is on the right there, and on the left, there's 5 lines pulled from that email. So basically, with the headline method, you write 5 headlines. And let's flip over to the next slide and we can see the instructions. Yeah. So to write an email in this way, before you write your email, write out 5 to 10 lines that sum up what you want to say. Those lines are the headline version of your email. They should more or less make sense on their own if you read through them. So here's that email subheadings written ahead of writing the whole email. Right now, sea turtles are disappearing faster than we can save them. Your $25 can rescue a turtle trapped in fishing nets. Small actions create massive waves of change. Look at all the work that was funded last month. Ready to join the fight for the oceans? Donate today. Now you bold them and you've got your subheadings. Between the subheadings, you add the rest of your writing. And if the subheadings don't make sense once you've done that, you can just massage and change them until you get something that works. So This method is going to allow you to cater for both the readers and the scanners and everyone in between. So I encourage you to try it out. Maybe you can A/B test it with the style that you're currently using. And if you didn't capture all of that, don't worry. In the recording of this webinar, we will send you a PDF with the instructions and the example email so you can try this at home. And if you are watching this as a recording, we will have a link to that PDF in the description. So now that we have talked a little bit about email writing, Jesus, can you talk to us about email configuration and setup, which I know is also a very important thing?
I sure can. Up here is a diagram of how emails work. But when you click send to an email, what really happens? What's really going on? So email authentication and email records, verifications, whatever it's called, it is important to your emails. You want to make sure those emails get delivered. But what's going on when you hit send? Your email client, like Gmail, Outlook, Hotmail, etc., acts like your local post office. We're going to use a post office analogy. I forgot to announce that. So just like you write a letter, address it, and add a stamp, you compose your email and hit send. The stamp itself, think of the stamp as the email record. Without it, the message won't be accepted or delivered. Just like a letter without postage, it'll get returned right to you. You'll get a bounce back. The journey begins. Your local post office, email server in this case, checks the address. If it's going far, they don't drive it straight there. They'll have to send it to regional sorting facilities. So if I'm sending a letter to New York from LA, it's going to go to El Paso, or I'll go to Albuquerque, then I'll go to Jefferson City, Missouri, and then it'll someday get to New York. Each stop, it gets closer to its destination. In the email world, your email server reads the recipient's address. Jesus at thiscompany.com as an example. It uses DNS like a postal directory to figure out which post office mail server in this case handles mail for that domain. From there, the email hops through multiple servers, multiple access servers, like a sorting facility, until it reaches the right destination. Just as email waits in your physical mailbox until you collect it, the email waits in the recipient's server until hopefully they open it. The difference, obviously, the big difference here, the whole process takes seconds rather than days. So at its core, mailing records are your stamp. Without them, your email isn't going anywhere. Summing it all up, no stamp, no delivery with your physical mail, snail mail. Same goes for your emails. That is the stamp to make sure your emails get delivered. Records prove your email is legitimate. Without them, your message will likely never reach that inbox. Records are the stamp that gets your email delivered. And without them, your email probably won't get delivered. Let me go on to the next slide and go a little bit more over some very specific email records you should be aware of. When I'm talking about email records, these are the type of records I'm talking about. SPF, DKIM, DMARC, and MX records. I'm going to keep using this postal analogy. I'm going to keep using it at NationBuilder to the end. SPF record, think of it as like writing your return address. So the post office knows the letter really came from you. A DKIM record, think of it as like sealing your letter with a wax stamp or a signature. Um, so if the seal is intact, the recipient knows it wasn't tampered with. So that's a very important one. Your DMARC record, in this analogy, it's like giving the post office special instructions. If the letter looks fake, hold it, return it, or throw it away. When you set up the
Mm.
DMARC record, you're telling post offices, mailing servers, what you want them to do with your email in case it looks fishy. And a very important one is your MX record. It tells the postal service which mailbox or building to deliver your mail to. So these are some very key records. You want to make sure that these are set up and you have these set up. Also, please note there's also other DNS records that are in the same realm of importance. Think like TXT records, CNAME records, A records. But for now, these are the ones you want to focus on. Make sure you have an SPF set up. Make sure you have a DKIM record set up. Make sure you have a DMARC, and make sure you have an MX record.
Wow. And
Erica,
it's,
sorry to interrupt. Any other things you consider?
I was just gonna say it's like alphabet soup. But yeah, if you use something like NationBuilder to send mass emails, there's a lot of that can be taken care of for you, right?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So go back, familiarize yourself with those terms, but don't panic about knowing all of that. We just wanted to highlight like the most ones you should be aware of. And next up, we're just going to give you some tips. So build your reputation slowly. Don't send to your full list all at once. Grow engagement gradually. If you if you remember back to the ladder of engagement, thinking of people across a spectrum of engagement with you, you want to be emailing the most engaged people. If you're not, and you're emailing people who don't want to hear from you, if you've purchased a list or there's a really old list or the list belonged to someone else and you just took it, or they gave it to you, it's very likely that those people that haven't opted in will mark you as spam or their inboxes will mark you automatically as spam. And then that hurts your reputation. The IP address you send from and the domain you send from is what holds your reputation. And just like a human's reputation in a social circle, it's hard to build, easy to hurt, and then it takes a big effort to rebuild it. So email people that want to hear from you and think about your reputation as you're emailing. I know that some CEOs, EOs, if you're running for office, they're like, email everybody, send this to everybody. Push back on that because it's going to hurt your email deliverability. Yeah, what's the next tip, Jesus?
One of the tips that I love to give people is the clean pasted material. Make sure you remove slash clear formatting when copying from Word or some other source into your email that you're building out. I'll go over a story that happened. A few months back, there was a customer I was working with that was writing some really great emails, really great information, but Yahoo was just straight up rejecting it. And we couldn't figure out why. And then we found out the reason why I was rejecting it is because the material in the email itself had too much code, had too much bloated code, too much code they didn't need. They were copying, pasting stuff from Word and not clearing the formatting in the email system. So when you copy and paste stuff from other sources into your email, make sure you clear the formatting. It gets rid of all that code you don't need. Yahoo sees it as like nefarious or bloated, but just copy and paste it in there. If you can, draft the email in the system itself. But if you got to copy and paste it, move it over, clear the formatting. It'll get rid of all that code you don't need.
And to clear formatting, I'm just thinking in my own experience, you do that by like copy paste sorry, highlight the thing that you want to copy it to your clipboard, and then right click. There's some options to paste when you right click, and you should be looking for paste values only, right?
That's correct. Paste the values only. Sometimes, like on NationBuilder, if you highlight it, there's a button at the top in an email system where it says clear formatting. A lot of systems have that, so make sure you
Mm.
just hit that clear formatting or go ahead and paste it with values only.
Yeah. All right. This one is mind your tone and emotion. The feeling your email blast evokes impacts engagement and response. So this, I've got a little story to go along with this. I volunteer with a small group of community members where I live. And of course, just like all, when there's volunteers donating their time, they're very time poor. And so there was the kind of key volunteer that I was working with, and she had had a very busy week, pulled in all directions, disjointed week. And I happened to talk to her on the phone, and she said, yeah, so this week, this happened and that happened and this happened and that happened. And I've got to send a support email out giving people an update. And we're gonna need to ask for more donations so that this can move along in court. And then I received the email the next day in my inbox, because I'm a supporter, and it came with a bit of the emotion that she had in her week. So she was a bit apologetic about having to interrupt people's day with an email. She was a bit apologetic about having to ask for more donations. And she is a great person, and she was empathetically thinking about everyone else in that moment, which is great. But when I opened the email in my inbox, it came across as having a bit of a negative vibe. Yeah. Not not positive. And so I don't know about you guys, but there's a lot of negativity in the world. From when I open my eyes, the information that I'm taking in is often negative in nature, maybe neutral, but not positive. And so if we can keep our email tone and emotion light, uplifting, positive, despite what we are feeling, it's more likely that a person's not going to shut down and go, oh, another negative thing. I'll just archive that email or close it. They're more likely to read it if it's positive. So, mind your tone and emotion. There's lots of tools that can help with that. And his is tell us about trigger words.
Yeah, so this kind of goes into the same ballpark of what you're mentioning when it comes to tone and emotions in that email. Um, yeah, try to avoid trigger words. ISPs don't like spam. Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail, etc. They don't like spam, and there's certain trigger words that look like you're sending spam out. Act now, action, limited time, order today while supplies last, urgent in all caps, all that caps. Get it now, prize. They sound spammy, they look spammy. Um, you might have a great reputation, but if you're using these words, you're very likely to either end up in the spam folder or the promotions folder that Gmail has. So try to avoid those trigger words, especially in your subject line. You want to make sure that you're not using these words. If it looks spammy, don't use it. That's my best advice to this is just avoid these type of trigger words, avoid these type of promotional words, and if definitely don't put all caps if you're going to use these words. And just to go over some more stuff when it comes to these great
Yeah.
tips and tricks we have here, send to people who want to hear from you. I just want to hammer it home. Opt-in matters. Only email people who have shown an interest and who want to hear from you. As Erica said, your reputation matters. Protect your reputation. Avoid sending to unengaged contacts to maintain deliverability. If someone opts out or marks you as spam, don't send to them. Just stop it. Please make sure that the folks you're sending to want to hear from you, are expecting to hear from you, and again, I'm going to say it again, they want to hear from you. Engage audience perform. Higher open rates and click rates drive better results. ISPs want to see high open rates. ISPs want to see high click rates. They can see it. They want to see it. If you have open rates that are single digits and click rates that are lower than that, probably won't like what they're seeing. So please make sure that you're sending to an engaged audience. And I just want to hammer home a little bit more the metrics that demonstrate a good email campaign. These are some benchmarks that you should be aiming for that you want to get. An open rate of 20%, 25% or higher. It shows your subject lines are engaging and the list you're sending to is healthy. 25% doesn't seem like that much. I know a lot of people want to get like a 40, 50, 100%. 25% or higher is what you should be aiming for. And if you get 25%, you get close to it, you're doing a pretty good job. That click rate, 2% or higher. If you're seeing 2% or higher, seeing 3 to 5%, honestly, you're doing a great job. It indicates your content resonates enough to drive that action. Even small percentages are really meaningful in this scale. So if you're seeing a click rate of 5%, 3%, you're doing a great job. Keep it up. Um, Bounce rates. A low bounce rate shows good list hygiene, and high bounce rates can hurt deliverability. When it comes to that bounce rates, there's a lot of discussion about this. 3% or lower should be your goal. If you're getting like bounce rates of 10, 12, 20%, that's pretty bad. And that list you're using might be kind of outdated and old. You want to reach that rate of 3% or less. And one of the most important numbers here you see on the screen here is spam, 0.08% or less. That's the industry standard. Even tiny increases in that spam rate can trigger filters. So keep spam rates as low as possible. You want to make sure that you're sending to people who are opted in and want to hear from you. And if they don't want to hear from you, they're going to click spam. Spam.
And that
Spam.
and that's spam. Okay, spam. I saw a question
Oh,
that kind of made me go, okay, spam rate is when people literally mark you as spam from their inbox.
yes, that's
That's what
correct.
that's,
Sorry.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
elaborate on that. Yeah, so this if an email lands in the spam folder, that doesn't affect your spam rate. It's literally just people clicking that spam button. So,
right.
and that's what you want to avoid. Hitting these numbers consistently ensures your emails land in inboxes and your audiences stay engaged. Uh, I know this is very dense stuff. I know this is a lot of heavy stuff we're talking about, a lot of numbers, a lot of acronyms, a lot of alphabet soups. Um, but Erica, if you don't mind, let's pivot just a little bit. What about texting? Is that something we should also be considering? Honestly, when I go fill up my F-150 at the gas station, I definitely check to see who's been texting me while I'm driving. So anything we can talk about when it comes to texting?
Yeah, let's talk about texting. And we're having to get through a lot in this time. So go back, watch the recording. It's all in this presentation. So texting. Texting is a growing opportunity. And so what we did was we drilled into a report by M&R, the 2024 M&R benchmark report. This is a report that surveys over 200 not-for-profits in the US, and I've pulled out some key learnings here. So texting lists are growing. From 2024, texting list size grew from 5 to 8%, and there's been a steady growth year after year since they've been doing this report. So this is indicating that texting is something that is here to stay. But not everybody is texting. Only about 1/3 of not-for-profits using text are using texting services, which is kind of cool because it probably means that someone here is in an org or a group that could pioneer using texting if done well. And if it's done well, then we can like normalize it as a thing. Um, some things that are cool about text so that they're subtle and casual, like Jesus mentioned, he's able to read 160 characters as he's like pumping the gas, right? Text can deliver small, important message in that casual and subtle way that is easy to digest. And things like event reminders, campaign updates, and like things like, hey, watch the news tonight because we had a win or something's happening is it's cool to create that in the context of daily life update. Also, open rates are really high and open immediacy is really high on text. So text open rates are often reported to be over 90%, which is crazy high compared to the 25% of email, right? People also open text really soon after receiving them, which is cool.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, there's this is a place where there is room for growth. So if you're not using texting yet, maybe consider it. NationBuilder is one of those services that can offer mass email texting. Yeah, and let's see. Like I said, NationBuilder, we offer texting services and email services. And so we like to stay ahead of the curve on what's happening in the world that might be affecting how emails and text messages are landing in people's inboxes. Um, so last week we published a blog because there's some changes coming. And in September 2025, if someone's using an iPhone, um, iOS 26 is also automatically going to start to filter text messages from unknown senders into a separate unknown tab with no notifications or badges. So the impact this is going to have is that campaigns and organizations text could go completely unnoticed unless supporters have saved your contact details. So the strategy here is build trust through consistent phone numbers, encourage supporters to save your contact details, and focus on valuable content over frequent, say, donation asks. And there is an opportunity here. Organizations with a genuine, like with these genuine supporter relationships who are thinking of that ladder of engagement and who are my people on which rung, they're going to thrive while the spam texts, which we all receive, are going to be filtered out. So quality communication wins over the quantity of communications, which is pretty cool. And that is mostly everything that we wanted to leave you with today. So we'll just go through these key takeaways. Key takeaways, number one, your supporters are spread across different levels of engagement. Think of them that way. There are more channels than ever for communicating with supporters. Email and text are channels that allow you direct communication. This is valuable. Become better at sending emails. And as part of that, email configuration is super important. Texting is also a growing opportunity,
Oh yeah.
and NationBuilder is a community organizing platform that can help. And this has been really fun. Thank you guys have been a great audience, super
This has been
engaging.
this has been great. Thank you so much for coming in. If you're interested in Nation Builder, please know we have a 14-day free trial. Jump onto nationbuilder.com, click that free trial, and talk to the support team if needed. We can walk you through any issues you might be coming across.
Thanks, everyone.
Cool. Thank you for
Till
joining.
next time,
See ya.
maybe see you at one of the other webinars.